Hello, and welcome. So, today we're going to be talking about how to build purposeful relationships. And before I continue, just in case you guys are unfamiliar with me, maybe this is your first time kind of tuning in and watching a video of mine, I want to say welcome, hi. And I also want to introduce myself, all right? So my name is Nina Dafe and I'm the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies collection.com, where I basically help Christian women to know their worth, their power and their purpose so that they may speak up, step out and shine as the absolutely wonderful women of God that He created them to be. And in the last few weeks, me and my beautiful ladies in the Far Above Rubies collective, my online community, have been talking a lot about two things. We've been talking about Matthew 25 in terms of the parable of the 10 virgins. And we've been also kind of dissecting the text and looking at the different lessons that it's had to teach us about relationships. We've covered why relationships are so important. We've covered the difference between the characteristics between purposeful relationships and non-purposeful relationships, and how to set boundaries in those non-purposeful relationships, because they tend to be the ones that sap and take you off course when it comes to your purpose or your walk with God, whereas obviously purposeful relationships do the opposite. So because we've kind of spent so much time, not in the negative, but talking about how to kind of swat away the non-purposeful relationships, I really wanted to spend some time today talking about how to build those purposeful relationships. Okay, so jumping right into that, number one is basically to know your purpose. I say this all the time, but I really do believe that that everything kind of begins and ends with purpose. Like, if you want to know how to stop procrastinating and how you should be best spending your time, your purpose will tell you that. If you want to know where you should be kind of investing your money, your purpose will tell you that. And your purpose will also do the same in terms of your relationships. A few weeks ago, when I talked about how to set healthy boundaries in your relationships, I talked about the fact that when you know your purpose, it basically helps you not to get off course when those people who are maybe a bit more non-purposeful. I don't mean their whole existence is non-purposeful. I mean that their input into your life doesn't necessarily align with the vision and the purpose and the goals that God has given you. All right. So it's easy in that sense, if you're around those sorts of people, to be taken off task if you don't know what your purpose is. But in the parable of the 10 virgins, the wise virgins basically were able to fulfill their ultimate purpose of going into the wedding with the bride and the bridegroom, because they stuck to their guns and they refused to be taken off task by the foolish virgins who didn't have enough oil and ultimately were asking them to give them of their oil, and would have put them both into trouble. Okay, and so number one is really to know your purpose in terms of building purposeful relationships as well, because when you know what your purpose is and what God has put you on the earth to do, whether it's to create something, whether it's to start a business, whatever that is, you then know and have an idea of the sorts of people that you need to be walking and running with. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments whether or not that resonated with you. If you've got any questions, I love this to be interactive. Okay, number two is to be open. So in Proverbs 18:24, it says that to have friends, you must yourself be friendly. And so if you want to invite purposeful relationships into your life, if you want to actually be able to have people around you who are, hashtag squad goals and all of that sort of jazz, then you need to be open to it. Now, that can be very difficult for people who maybe are not so trusting of others. That can be very difficult for people who tend to prefer to do things on their own and don't necessarily always like to collaborate or ask for help, or can see relationships as a liability. And if that's you, I want to say that I completely understand, because believe it or not, that very much used to be me. I have come from a place of not trusting people. I have come from a place of preferring to do things on my own, etc., etc. Who needs people? All that sort of jazz. To literally God's you kind of see my face because it's a good thing, but I tell you, it's been a journey of God really having to minister to me and show me what I have been showing you guys in the last few weeks, which is that He made relationships for a purpose, and that they are a good thing as long as you know what you're looking for and what to guard against. And so I want to say to the people who are in that camp of not always wanting to invite people in, just basically think about what it is that you're doing. And one of the analogies that God gave me was about building fences instead of walls. I very much used to have this wall, this guard that didn't want to let anybody in, because I felt like if I let people in, then I became vulnerable and liable, almost like an open target basically for people to hurt me. But then the other thing that God really revealed to me, and I had to get to grips with, is that when you build walls like that, not only are you protecting yourself, and notice I did the quotation marks there because you can't ultimately protect yourself, but that's another story for another time. But not only are you kind of protecting yourself from getting hurt and, from letting in all the bad stuff, you're also guarding and defending yourself against the good stuff as well. It is impossible to have a wall that doesn't allow in any bad stuff, but also allows in good stuff as well. Like, literally know that if you have a wall, then nothing gets in, whether good or bad. And so I know for me, I ended up very much in a situation where I almost kind of ended up lamenting and being very much like, well, I'd love to have positive relationships around me. Why don't I have those? And God very much kind of had to have a very come to Jesus moment with me and be like, your wall is up so high that you're not allowing in any of the good and positive stuff. Love, relationships, and all of that stuff is not actually what the issue is. It's about deciphering, as I said, what the characteristics of the purposeful versus non-purposeful is and are. Okay, and so if that's you, what I'm going to do is link to two videos. The first one is the one that kicked off this whole series about relationships, which really deals with why relationships are so important in the first place. And the second one is basically, as I talked about earlier, the characteristics of purposeful versus non-purposeful relationships, because when you know what you're looking for, you know then what to let in, but then you also know what to guard against. All right. So, as I said, there is a difference between a wall and a fence. With a wall, it's impenetrable, nothing comes in, whether good or bad. But if you have a fence, then at least there's a little gate or a little door that you can open or close at will. You still got your boundaries in place, because boundaries are actually good, they're healthy. But but at the very same time, there's a little bit of a place for people to kind of, come in and out, depending on whether they are good or bad for you. I hope that makes sense. If that's something actually that you would like me to talk about a bit more, then let me know in the comments as well, and maybe I can do another video about that, basically, and giving you a bit more of an idea about how I use that and how that works in my life, okay? But as I said, in terms of how to build purposeful relationships, know what your purpose actually is. And number two, be open. To have friends, you must yourself be friendly, okay? The third thing, number three, is to actually have people that have things in common with you, but most especially your purpose. So you want to have common ground. So if we go back to Matthew 25 and the whole parable of the virgins, like this group of women ended up together, in this scenario, waiting for the bridegroom. Because they had duties in common. They were part of the bridal party. I'm assuming that they had people in common as well. They knew the bridegroom, or they knew the bride and the family. And that's what brought them all together. And so it's important that when you are looking for these purposeful relationships, that you basically go to places or you join communities where you are likely to find those people who literally have those things in common with you, okay? So what I'm going to do now, moving on to number four, is give you some ideas for example, if you're looking for spiritually purposeful relationships, because I think the thing about walking in purpose, whether that's in your relationship with God, or literally, as I mentioned, trying to start a business or get an idea off the ground that God has given you as your purpose, one of the things that can be difficult, I was actually just talking to one of my mentees about this, is finding people who can actually identify with what it is that you are going through and who literally understand. It can be incredibly isolating and I don't know how to put it, just very isolating, overwhelming, sad, lonely when, you're going through either a spiritual walk with God, or He's taking you to higher heights in terms of your dreams, but the people around you don't necessarily kind of get it. And you see in the parable of the 10 virgins that actually, even though these 10 women all started off together, by the end of the story, only half of them are actually able to journey on and into purpose, which, in this story is symbolized by the wedding. And I think that's basically letting us know that the people that we start with, our foundational people, whether it's our family, whether it's our day one friends, they're not always going to be the ones who see us through into purpose. And the people that we start off with might not also be the people that we finish with as well. I think the other thing as well that we can take from that is sometimes it's also very, very necessary to come out of our comfort zones in terms of relationships as well. All right. And so spiritually, in terms of people who, have the same sort of beliefs as you and who can push you further in your relationship towards God, some of the ways that you can kind of network and build on those kind of purposeful relationships, obviously the most obvious is church, so actually joining a church home, becoming a part of their activities, and getting in where you fit in there. So whether that's going on the Sundays to Bible studies, the women's ministries, cell groups. I know a lot of churches have WhatsApp groups as well. They tend to have Facebook groups, conference calls or conference meetings, prayer calls. Like there's great opportunity in joining, the different kind of departments of a particular church or of a particular ministry. And of course, because it is church, you are then much more likely to be amongst a pool of people who believe as you do and who can encourage you in your walk with God. Okay, so the best thing then would be obviously to do your research, come up with a list of some of the things that you want to see from a church, or that you would like to be a part of, that you can establish the common ground and build on those relationships in and with, and literally just take it from there. And obviously not just doing this in your own strength or by your own might, but of course praying, seeking God, and going that way. All right. So that's the spiritual kind of building of purposeful relationships. So in terms of building towards a business, or whatever it might be, I'm thinking a business, a Kickstarter, a non-profit, whatever idea it is that God has given you. These are some of the things that I have done personally, or at least thought about doing as it pertains to the Far Above Rubies collection. Okay, so Facebook groups. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for bloggers or to do with blogging, Instagram, or any kind of social media, to be honest, is great for networking as well and building those relationships. Summits, whether they be online or in person, conferences, literally getting from behind the computer and going to in-person events where you can not only be mentored, but literally be in a place where there are lots of people who clearly have similar interests and common ground with you because you're all in the same place at the same time. Membership programs, courses are great because they also tend to have their own Facebook groups that are attached to them as well, especially if they are online. Mastermind groups, meetups, and also retreats are great for being around like-minded people excuse me, who you can build and grow with. All right. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found this whole series, to be honest, very, very helpful in terms of the relationship stuff. But as I said, in terms of building purposeful relationships, number one, to recap, you want to know what your actual purpose is. Everything begins and ends with that. Number two, you want to actually be open to relationships, okay? No point building a wall and then wondering why nobody can actually get close to you. It doesn't work. Trust me, as I said, I've been there. Have a fence. Open and close that gate as at will. Yes, let people in and out as appropriate. And number three, find the common ground. So as I said, if it's spiritual, I gave you lots of ideas about where you can meet spiritually like-minded people. And if it's kind of business, more business related, creative, non-for-profit, whatever the case may be, I've also given you ideas about how you can actually form those type of relationships as well. And obviously, if you want to maintain them, keep them growing, it's not just about, meeting these people and then, dropping it off. Like, as I said, as the scripture says, to have friends, you must yourself be friendly. So, be an asset, be the kind of person that you would basically want other people to be to you. You reap what you sow and all that good stuff. All right. So as I said, I hope that this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments what your aha moments were, or as I said, if you've got any kind of questions at all. If you liked this video, then obviously like it. But also, if you can think of someone who needs to hear this, share with them. Share the love. Freely you have received, so freely you should give. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, then don't forget to basically press the subscribe button if this resonated with you and you'd like to see more, and also press the bell, because if you press the bell, what that will do is notify you of any other time that I upload videos, which tends to be at least once a week, most of the time twice. All right, so until next time, guys, take care until next week, and we will see each other and chat again soon. All right, have a good day. Bye.